everyone, and welcome to the first lecture for Introduction to Criminal Justice. So what we're going to do in this first lecture is we're going to go over some general concepts for the class, and then I'm going to kind of give you a brief overview of what we're going to be doing in the class. So I will be sharing my PowerPoint with you. This PowerPoint is also available online, so if you want to print it out or open it and take your notes right on it, you're welcome to do that. So I'll always have the video and then the PowerPoint following it within the module information. So like I said, welcome to Introduction to Criminal Justice. My name is Mrs. Wicca. So I always like to start with a basic question. Why are you here? So a lot of times this is one of the very first course classes that students take for their college career. Not always, sometimes people take this as an elective later, but just for the people that are starting out in college for their first college course, I always ask the basic question, why are you going to college? Why do you want college credit? So I want you to kind of think about that. I want you to write down 3 reasons why you are here, why you want to earn college credit. Okay, so that is what we're going to talk about for just a second to get you focused on college at the very beginning. So what is your ultimate goal that you are trying to achieve with college? Are you trying to earn a degree so that you can get a certain career? Are you doing it here? Are you doing it because your parents are asking you to do it? Is it that you're just super really interested in criminal justice? So what is your ultimate goal? What do you want to achieve while you're here in college? You really have to focus on that goal because that goal is going to be what helps you succeed. So it's going to be work. I'm not going to lie. It's a college course. It's an online college course. Many people think online classes are easier, but they're actually harder because you often have to teach yourself the material. So then I ask, what are you willing to do to succeed in this course? So once you start taking college courses, you have to start making choices. You can't just play video games or hang out with your friends or do whatever you want if you want to succeed in this class. You have to make a concerted effort to choose time every week where you're going to work on this course. So that is what you have to ask yourself. What are you willing to do to achieve this success? How much are you willing to put into it? Because your ultimate grade will depend on how much effort you're willing to put into the course now. Okay. Now, going to college can produce some challenges, so I just want to address some of these. There's going to be additional responsibilities. College switches from a teacher giving you everything to a student having to learn themselves. So it's a change in philosophy of learning. I'm not going to spoon feed everything to you. You're going to have to put effort into it. You're going to really have to think. You're going to have to read the material. You're going to have to really want to work at it. So you're going to have to adjust to those extra responsibilities. You're going to have to update your academic skills. When you're in high school, you learn some basic concepts about a lot of different things. Now you're focusing on one particular area. So it's going to be more in depth, have more detail, and may take a little more effort in the academic area. You're going to have to get to know new people. So you're online, it's a little harder, but you're going to want to have discussions and talk and interact with people within the class. You're going to have to balance school with other responsibilities. If you have a job, if you have family responsibilities, you're going to have to figure out the time. So I suggest you make a calendar and figure out what times are best for you to work within this class. You may have to help your family adjust to this concept. You might be the very first person in your family that ever has gone to college. So they may not understand the responsibilities and requirements that college is going to take. And some of your friends may not understand it. They may put pressure on you. Come on, hang out with us, do this, do that. And you have to make up your mind that you're going to dedicate the time and energy to succeed in this class. And you may have to adjust to new personal challenges, things in your own life that you're trying to adjust to. So my 3 keys to success. Number 1, staying power. Have grit. No matter how hard it gets, how frustrated, how tired you get, stick to it. Stay with it. And that means every single week. Don't blow off a week. It becomes very difficult, especially in a summer course where it's accelerated, to catch up on the work when it is when you start to get behind. So dig deep, have staying power, persevere, stay through it, even when you have these challenges that you're facing. Really embrace being a mindful learner and thinker. Really embrace this. This is hopefully going to be your future career. Have intellectual curiosity, want to learn, have a desire to delve deeper into concepts instead of learning at a very surface level. And then finally, mastering information literacy. Be able to know where to look for information when you need information, know how to reach out, communicate, use the resources that are all provided to you within the system, okay? So I just like this quote, "It is our choices, Harry, that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities." So I like this quote because everybody can pass this course if you make the proper choices. So think about why you're here, what goal you're trying to achieve, have that staying power and that perseverance, and you will be very successful in this course. Okay, so now let's talk about criminal justice. Let's talk about some of the concepts and things that you are going to learn in this class throughout the summer. Okay, so this is the learning objectives for the chapter. These are the things that you are going to learn. When you go into Brightspace D2L, you'll see in my module letter at the very bottom, these are listed. So when you're done with all of the materials for this week, these are the things that you should know and understand. Now, these are important to look at throughout the semester, because when you're going to review for exams, read through these and make sure you do understand these concepts, because these are going to be the things that are going to be covered on my exams, okay? Now, crime does more than expose the weakness in social relationships. It undermines the social order itself by destroying the assumptions on which it is based, okay? So think about what you think this means. Crime destroys social order and therefore destroys the assumptions on which social order is based. So my question to you then is, what is social order? So if crime destroys social order, let's start with the first concept. What is social order? Social order has been defined as a condition in which society runs smoothly without conflict. So my scenario to you is, what would happen if you woke up this morning and every single person decided to disobey all of the traffic laws, right? Driving to school, nobody followed any red lights, any stop signs, any speed limits. What would happen? It would be complete chaos, right? There would be no social order. We as a society don't want to live in a world like that. We want society to run smoothly. We want to have some structure. We want to know we're going to live when we get in our car and we drive. So social order is the idea of having rules and things that we follow as a society, as a social compact, so that we all can live in a smoothly functioning social order or life without having constant conflict. And that is what is social order. So why do we want social order? Because we want to live in that kind of a world. We as a society have agreed to abide by these rules so that we can live in this conflict-free society. Now, we said crime destroys social order. So my question to you is then, what is crime? So if crime destroys social order, which we're trying to achieve living in society, what is crime? How would we specifically define crime? Well, crime is defined as an act that violates the law, okay? So we have a law written by our government that says what you can and cannot do. Crime is an act that violates that law. It provides a punishment to people that violate that law. So if you violate it, there are consequences or punishments for violating that. and you do not have a valid legal defense. Because sometimes people commit crimes, but they have valid legal defenses, so we're not going to prosecute them or we're not going to punish them because they have that valid legal defense. They acted in self-defense. It is a crime to harm somebody else. But if you're doing it to protect yourself, that's a valid legal defense. So it's no longer a crime, right? So it violates the law and you can be punished, but you have no legal defense. That is how we define a crime. There is this concept in criminal justice or in society that is called deviance. Deviance is a little bit different than crime. A crime is a law, is a violation of a law of what you can and cannot do. Deviance are behaviors that are considered against social norms of society. So these are not written laws. The government has not created a law requiring you to do or not do something, but society as a whole doesn't like it, and you will be shunned or you will have social consequences for doing that behavior. That is different than a crime. A crime violates a law and you're going to actually have a legal punishment, a fine, probation, go to jail, go to prison. Deviance is a social punishment. So you are going to be socially punished, but not punished by our government. So think about what kind of behaviors would violate social norms, would be deviance. Well, just something minor now. When I was growing up, everybody smoked. A lot of kids smoked. Nowadays, smoking is considered slightly more deviant. It's not as accepted in society as it once was in past times, okay? So that would be one of the differences of deviance and crime. Now, I want you to think about this in your notes. Think of at least 3 different crimes. So I'm not talking about deviance. I'm talking about 3 specific crimes, okay? 3 different things that you could actually go to jail for and write them down, okay? So once you write those 3 down, I want you to think about, are they violent crimes or are they property crimes? So go through your list of 3 things and write down, would it be violent or would it be property? Okay, now what I want you to do is understand that crimes can be broken down into different categories. We have violent crimes and we have property crimes, and then there's some that fall under the other category. So when we're talking about violent crimes, we're talking about crimes that cause harm to another person. So murder, sexual assault, assaults and batteries, robberies, those kind of things are all what fall under the category of violent crime. We also have the category of property crime. So this is damaging somebody's property, either land or personal property, things you can hold. So larceny or stealing or theft, burglary, breaking into somebody's home or structure to do a crime, and motor vehicle theft. Those all fall under, property crimes. There are categories of crimes that fall outside of that. So public order crimes, disturbing public order, rioting, protesting, things like unlawful protesting, things like that. You may have morality crimes like pornography, obscenity, bigamy, being married to more than one person at the same time, adultery, having relations with somebody outside your marriage. Those fall under public order crimes. You could have white collar crimes. These are crimes committed by what we consider white collar workers, corporations, CEOs, stealing money or things like that from the corporation. You could have cyber crimes, crimes committed through the computer. So crimes can fall under these different categories. If you continue on to criminal justice and you take the next course, which is criminal law, that is what we learn in that course. We go through each of these crimes and specifically learn the details of how to prove somebody guilty for each of these different types of crimes. So just a quick learning check. So read through the 2 scenarios and decide which one would be violent and which one would be property, okay? So hopefully you put A for the first one, murder, assault, robbery is a violent crime, and property crime would be larceny, motor vehicle theft, and arson. Okay, So the next thing I want to talk about quickly is I want to talk about the history of crime in the United States. So this is really important because at different times throughout our history, there have been different crimes that have been more of a focus within society. So there's crime always, there's always been crime throughout history, but we as a society pay attention to certain crimes at different periods of our history than others. And depending on which crimes we focus on will affect the laws and the policies and the procedures that exist in that time period. So when you trace history and you look at crime throughout the United States, you can see different decades or generations had different focuses on crime. So in the 1850s to the 1880s, the big focus in this country was immigration, and there was a civil war and the increase of crime during these time periods, okay? A lot of people said immigration was causing crime, and you had a lot of those crime histories. Crimes be occurring in that time of history, and the crime rate actually increased. In the 1920s and through the 1933, prohibition was a huge issue. Prohibition was making alcohol illegal. And they actually passed an amendment that made alcohol illegal. And what happened is it led to a huge increase in organized types of crime. It was still occurring. People were still manufacturing and selling alcohol during this time period, but it led to a lot of corruption, police corruption. Police were involved either in the making or hiding or receiving kickbacks for the sale of alcohol during this time. So we did have an increase in crime during that time period. 1960s and 70s, the big focus was the civil rights movement. Again, an increase in crime. We had a lot of riots. We had a lot of protests. We had a lot of violence that was occurring down in those time periods. 1970s, the big focus in society was on rape, murder, and assaults. It was considered a very deadly time. A lot of people were being killed. A lot of the focus within society was on those types of crimes. In 1980s, we shifted much more to a focus on drugs, the war on drugs, sale and distribution of drugs. So a lot of the policies and procedures were focused on drug use during the 1980s. 1992 was when Rodney King suffered a beating by police, and it led to a big focus on police reform and police abuse. So we had a lot of focus on those types of things. The late 1990s was just a general focus on all crime. We just felt like things were getting out of control. All crime was occurring, and there was a lot of focus just in criminal justice as a whole. 2001, obviously, we had the attack on the World Trade Center, and we had a huge shift away from local crime and much more to national crime of terrorism. 2009 time period, we started shifting much more focus on white collar crime and corporations taking advantage of people. 2011, again, terrorism. We had terrorist threats, the Boston Marathon bombing, other attacks that were occurring within our country. And then 2012 and 2013, we had a sort of a boost in mass shootings. We had the shooting in Connecticut, and we had a big focus on that. So my question to you is, where are we now? If you had to define this time period right now, what would you say would be the main focus of crime at this time? What are the crimes we're most specifically worried about? And there's probably lots of choices, but I'd just be interested to see what you think. Okay, so what do you think would be next? So the question is, why do you care about any of this? Why do we care about this history? What the heck? What's the difference? Well, because of what crimes are being focused on shapes our laws and what focus the police have at any given time. So we need to know as a society, what are we worried about? And then our laws sort of are tailored around those concerns at that time. So the focus leads to changes in criminal justice public policy. We change our policies and laws to fit with what society views as the most serious crime issues at that time. So I want you to look back at the historic periods that we just talked about and think about. So for terrorism, September 11, 2011, our focus is on terrorism. If we choose that one, what things can the government do to stop that crime during that period? So if we're all worried about terrorism, if we wrote in our question mark that terrorism was our main concern right now, what public policies could government use or implement to make changes and reduce that type of crime? That is public policy. So we have crime that we focus on, and then the government makes public policy or rules or changes the system to try to reduce those crimes that are occurring at this time. So if you look into Brightspace D2L, you will see that I posted a public policy and crime practice assessment. Whenever you see the term practice assessment, it just means a review quiz. It does not count towards your grade. You don't have to take it. It's completely optional. But if you want to make sure that you understand what I'm talking about in the lecture, they're all short. You can quickly jump on and look through those questions and see, are you connecting what I'm saying to the actual material? They're a great way to review for exams. So I just want to point that out, that you will see those throughout the summer, throughout the semester, and you can take those to make sure that you are learning what you need to learn for this particular lecture. Okay. Now, the next question is, how do we get people to obey laws? So we want social order. We don't want crime. We want public policy to reduce crime. So we have to think about, what do we do to stop it? How can we stop it? Well, we use what are called social controls. Social controls are things that society uses to get people to do what we want them to do. So you live through social controls your whole life. If you don't brush your teeth or take a shower, your friends aren't going to want to be around you. That's a social control. Peer pressure is a social control to get you to behave in a certain way. Your parents may exert social control over you. You get grounded if you don't follow their rules. Teachers exert social control over you. If you don't do your homework, you don't pass. So for a society to get them to obey the laws and not commit crimes, we use, as a government, the government uses social controls. Social controls are punishment. So if you don't do what we tell you to do, we are going to punish you. So we use punishments as forms of social control within the criminal justice system. Now, we have three parts of the criminal justice system that all work together to try to ensure social order. And that's what this whole class is about. We are going to learn about the three components of the criminal justice system and how they work to ensure social order. So I'm going to ask you many times throughout the semester, what are the three components of the criminal justice system? And you're always going to say police, courts, and corrections. So we're going to start with an overview. We're going to spend a couple weeks on police, a couple weeks on courts, a couple weeks on corrections, and you will learn all of these components of the criminal justice system and how they work to ensure social justice within our system. So why do we have the criminal justice system? In order to maintain social order. We want to protect society from people committing crimes. We want to determine if crime is committed. So we want to have a trial, a fair process to determine if somebody committed a crime. And if they have and they've destroyed social order, how can we punish them? What social control can we use to punish them? We also use the criminal justice system for rehabilitation, how to make people better. And we want to support crime victims. How can we support crime victims? So we use all of these things to maintain social order. The criminal justice system is set up to help maintain social order. Okay, so that's a quick overview of what you're going to learn throughout the semester. I just want to spend a few minutes talking about the actual class. The first thing is, this is criminal justice. Some of the material may be disturbing. It could be possibly upsetting. I apologize. I never mean to upset anybody or disturb anybody, but criminal justice is not a happy topic at all times. You're talking about crime. You're talking about destruction of social order. You're talking about victims. You're talking about emotional things. So it can be disturbing and upsetting. I apologize. If you ever need to discuss something with me, please reach out and I'll be happy to go over it with you. So my next thing is stay current with the work. Every week, make sure you've gone through all of your items, read the module overview, check off all of the items, and make sure you've completed all of the requirements. Make sure you're using maturity and academic knowledge when you're completing assignments. We're always using common courtesy. Use the material you learn in class to integrate into your answers and explain why you chose that. That's academic knowledge. When you're just using discussions in class, make sure you're courteous to your classmates and your comments to others. And you have to participate in discussions. That's the only way we really have to work together in an online course. Everything will be through D2L Brightspace, so all the work you need is always going to be posted. Please check out the Brightspace page, my syllabus, read it over under the syllabus and course schedule tab, and there's a little short 10-question quiz to make sure you understand the syllabus. Make sure you participate in the introduction discussion so you get to know your classmates this week. All of your assignments, your MindTap chapter exams, your chapter assignments, and your chapter discussions are all within there. You read your weekly module overview letter, and then everything you need is underneath it. Remember, I told you I will be posting practice assessments. These are just optional ways to review the material. They're not required. You will be required to complete 2 projects, a career project and a comparative studies project. And then you have a total of 4 exams throughout the semester, okay? So make sure every week you click on the module for that week and you work through all of those materials. So do not forget you need MindTap. You need a MindTap code. You cannot pass the class unless you have a MindTap code. So there's the link to register. It's also in the course Start Here materials. You can buy it right from the website. If you click on that link within Brightspace, it will take you right to Cengage, and you can purchase it right through the course, or you can purchase it from the bookstore. When you're in Brightspace, then you just click on the chapter reading. It will take you to Cengage. It will ask you to insert your code right there, and then you'll be all set. Please do not go straight to the Cengage website and put your code in there, because it wants a course code to then connect to my class. I don't have that. They don't give it to me. So you have to log in through my class so it's linked to my class. If you did it the other way, you're going to have to call Cengage, and they're going to have to link it for you. You will see these skills preps that are online. These are optional, but if you're starting out college and you want to make sure you're on the right foot, you might want to look through some of the skills preps that are included in MindTap. And then remember, all your work is going to be done through Brightspace D2L. The last thing I just want to talk about real quick is plagiarism. Please make sure that you do not plagiarize. Plagiarizing is using somebody else's work as your own, so other students give you their work. It could be taking information from the internet without citing it and giving credit to where you received it. I run plagiarism checks, and I take plagiarism very, very seriously. If you are caught plagiarizing, you will receive an automatic 0 on that assignment. You will be required to take a plagiarism course through the library online, and the librarian will tell me when you have satisfied that. I will also could possibly report it to the dean of students, and you go on a list, and you could get booted from the school. So do your own work and do not plagiarize. And that's it. I hope you have a great semester. If you work hard, stay up with the work, I think you'll really enjoy the semester. And if you ever have any questions, please reach out to me right away. So there will be one more lecture for this chapter that I will post, and we will go through some of the concepts of chapter 1. But thank you very much, and I will see you soon.